Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's live session. Today, we're starting week 2, and we'll be looking at impact assessments on our farms. Our agenda for today, we introduce the purpose of the meeting and we'll do an ice break. We also have a live session. Our session will be on sequence 1, impact of agricultural practices on biodiversity, and sequence 2 will be on biodiversity at farm level. Then we'll have a 5-minute break, and then we'll come for sequence 3, which is extent and precision level of biodiversity. Then we have a question and answer time, and we do a recap of what we are supposed to do from last week till to the end of this today, and before we meet again on Thursday. So welcome everyone. Hope we had a wonderful weekend, and we're expecting that everybody will join the session this morning. So permit me to unshare my screen. And then permits me to share again, since it's only Matthew that is there. So Matthew, we're going to do a ice break. You're the only one there. Are you with me? Hello, Matthew. Are you with me? So Matthew, let's look at question 2 together. What occurs once in every minute, twice in every moment, yet never in 1,000 years? The letter starts with hem.
Hey.
Hello?
Is it money? Hello?
Hello? Is it money?
Yes. Yeah.
I like you because you like money, pa. Like we would say. You like money, pa. The answer. I wanted to see if you can buy him. It occurs once in every minute, then twice in moments, then 2 hem in moments, yet never in 1,000 years. In 1,000 years, there's no hem. So the answer is the letter hem. Did you get it now?
The answer is letter M.
Yes.
Hey.
Yes, it occurs once in in minutes. If you spell minutes, it is just once. Hem is once. Then if you spell moments, it is 2 hem that we have in moments. If you look at in 1,000 years, there is no hem there.
Okay.
Yes. So is the letter hem. The answer is the letter hem. I told you the answer. I thought you just get it. But you like money. Anyway, over to you, Ayo.
All right, thank you very much, Michelle. And I want to welcome Matthew. I believe every other professional will join us as soon as possible. So, and I also know that you are going to have quality time today. What we'll be going through today is quite,
Can you stop your video, Ayo? Can you stop your video so that?
Okay. Permit me to stop my video. All right, thank you very much, so that the network can be more stable. So like I was saying, what we're going to discuss today has a lot to do with what we do on our farm. Please permit me to share my screen. I am very much with you, please. Is Matthew there?
Yes,
Matthew?
please.
All right, thank you very much,
Yes,
Matthew.
sir. I am there.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Others will join us in due time. What we'll be discussing today is impact of agriculture on biodiversity. We want to know the impact. We want to know the effect of agriculture, what we consider to be source of our livelihood, what we consider to be the source of income, what we consider to be the source of crop production. We want to know the effect it's having on biodiversity. So from there, I will move to the next slide. All right. So at the end of this module, I'm talking about this particular training course. We should be able to understand the influence of agricultural practices on biodiversity, which has a lot to do with importance of pesticide, fertilizer, tillage, and the likes. Then we're going to know how and why we access biodiversity on our. Okay, I believe you can hear me. Okay, can you hear me, please?
Yes, please.
All right. That was a break in the network. My sincere apologies. So, like I was saying earlier on, that we're going to have what we consider to, what we're going to compare biodiversity.
But we don't have your screen.
Methods. We're going to compare biodiversity evaluation method and.
We don't have your screen, AY.
Yes.
Do you want me to share your screen?
Okay, please go ahead and share. So.
Yeah, we can hear you now. You can continue, please. Hello, hey, why? Hello.
These are the methodology we are going to use. And just like we discussed last week, we're going to brainstorm together. Okay, so briefly we will consider we will consider direct impact of agricultural practices. We will want to know what's the impact of agricultural practices on biodiversity. So from what we can see on the screen now, from your past experience, what do you think are agricultural practices that are responsible for biodiversity loss? So over to you, Matthew. I believe Marcel is the only one on board now. Is another person join? Matthew, can you hear me, please?
Yes, please.
Matthew. Okay.
Hello.
May I know from your experience, yes, from your own experience, what do you think are responsible for biodiversity loss?
I think our land cultivation. Normally, when we are preparing land, most of the times we cut down some of the trees and some plants in order to pave way for the plowing. So land preparation is one of the factors. And then the second thing is, I think our pesticides and other chemicals application, especially the inorganic ones, are also one of the major issues that could cause biodiversity loss. Because most of the time, especially over here, it is well known, the glyphosate application, that is the locally known as condemned. Most of the time when they're spraying, we don't think of, maybe we just want to clear everything. We want to spray every plant and it is dead and we plant. So I think it's also one of the concerns that could lead to biodiversity loss. Secondly, our land practices like the production, most of the time we don't live like a continuous cultivation on the same piece of land all the time. We don't allow fallow period or sometimes before we can plant, but we are producing on the same piece of land all the time. Especially here, we are doing vegetable production. Normally, because of scarcity, when you say you plant finish and it is the same line, the tractor is plowing again. This is the same line you are applying the chemical again, the fertilizers. This within some 3 months or 4 months, you have plowed them in and then plant different one. So continuous cultivation on the same piece of land is also one of the factors that could cause biodiversity loss.
Yeah, thank you very much, Matthew. You said it all, and those are the things we'll be considering in a very short while. You please move to the next slide. Impact of agricultural practices on biodiversity, which is impact of agricultural practices on biodiversity. And at the end of the module, you will know the agricultural practices with a direct impact on biodiversity. You will know the solution to reducing the impact of agriculture, just like every other thing on biodiversity. Now, number one thing that we need to look at, next slide. Number one thing we need to look at is the intensification of farming. What do we mean by intensification of farming? It has a lot to do with increases in the sizes of the field, reduction in rotation, greater use of fertilizers and pesticides. The three things combined together are what we refer to as intensification of farming. And once this intensification of farming comes to play, we have destruction of natural habitats. And we've already considered that biodiversity is just in the relationship that exists the connection that exists between the natural inhabitants in our ecosystem. When we leave them in place, they do what they need to do, and everything go the way it should be. So we have examples of agricultural practices with a direct impact on biodiversity. Next slide. We have examples of agricultural practices with a direct impact on biodiversity. Number one, just as you mentioned, is the use of plant protection products and herbicides. The use of plant protection products and herbicides. When you consider agriculture generally, you will discover that there is hardly time that farmers do not use plant protection because their crops are endangered by diseases, pests, and all of these things they cannot manually control. So farmers normally use plant protection, and in the case of herbicides, they need to clear the weeds because weed will grow everywhere, particularly during the rainy season. And if you don't control the weed, your plant produce will not yield fast and the yield will not be okay. So all of these things, we see them as one important practice that we engage in our farming system, but actually have adverse effects on biodiversity. Of course, you mentioned application of fertilizers. Fertilizer help to enhance our crop yield. And these are what we do day in, day out, particularly when it comes to making a fast and robust production. We consider the use of fertilizer. What about soil tillage? Particularly when the land is very hard, you will need to till it so that the root of whatever you are planting on it can penetrate deeper. And in this case, virtually all over the world where agricultural production is carried out, you have the case of soil tillage. And we are coming to mechanization of harvest. Mechanization of harvest in a very large land, when you have to do your harvest, you cannot do a manual harvesting. You always use a mechanized way of doing the harvest, which will make it quicker, so to say. Then there is this crop water management. When you need to wet your land, when you do not need to wet. But we understand that all plants need a particular amount of water. But if you don't know the water requirement of any plant, you try to wet it just to avoid drought. And in that case, you'll be affecting biodiversity. We'll go into that as time goes on. Then what about irrigation? This is peculiar to places where the rainy season is not as long, where they have drought, in the Sahara area of Africa, and you engage in irrigation. All of this have a way of contributing to biodiversity loss. Now, to the next slide, we have the direct impact of agricultural practices. Direct impact of agricultural practices. Now, I want you to look at global deficit. Just focus your eyes on global deficit. You have the farming intensification, which I mentioned. You have the herbicide use, you have the fertilizer use, you have the soil tillage, you have the mechanized harvest. If you look at what is in the middle, you will realize that everything boils down to biodiversity loss. Now look at the other side, your right-hand side of the screen. You will look at the farmer's reasoning. What is the farmer considering when he or she is using all of these things, engaging in all of these practices we have just spoken about? What he is considering is enhanced crop production, which is what we suppose we have. When farmer engages in all of these farming practices, what is at the back of his mind is enhanced crop production. So to the next slide. So we have a question, and the question is, now that you know direct impact of agriculture on biodiversity, in your respective plot levels where you do your cultivation, is shifting cultivation having a negative impact on biodiversity? It's a yes or no answer. Shifting cultivation, we all know what shifting cultivation is. So is it having a direct impact on biodiversity? As many that are on board now, let me check. Okay, I can see that Mammon is on board. Okay, Mammon just joined. So I'll need you to send your yes or no. Can you just use the Zoom chat? Please just send your yes or no answer. Okay, Mammon is raising up his hand. Do you want to speak? Okay, please send in your, okay. All right, good morning, Mammon.
Send my report, my answer.
You said what, please?
And my answer.
Okay, what is your answer?
Oh, okay. I thought you said I should send it by the chat. Yeah.
Okay, you can just say yes or no. What do you think?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Over to you, Matthew. Matthew?
Yes, no.
Okay, you choose no.
No.
Okay, both of you are correct. Okay, both of you are correct. At the first instance, shifting cultivation has a yes impact on the biodiversity because you are using the plot of land or the plot to fallow. So you move to another place to plant. It will grow naturally and develop its own biodiversity component. But the time of growth, of course, the plant where you have already used and you did not use it in a way that is a biodiversity smart, that place has already been affected. So that is when a no comes in. So both of you are correct in any case. So we move to the next slide. Solution of agriculture on biodiversity. There you have the IPM, integrated pest management. You just have to use. If it is you use only you use herbicide or this chemical when it is stringent, when it is strictly required. If it is not required, you may never use it. Then we have the introduction of leguminous plants in the fallow period. So this is where we come to nitrogen. And during the fallow period, when you are doing your shifting cultivation, when you introduce leguminous plants on that land, you are getting back biodiversity kind of we have do it in such a way that it does not affect the soil structure, and that is what we refer to as soil tilling. Of course, ensuring integrated water management. Many a times we farmers do not check the water requirements of plants. We just want them to decrease with time. At the growth level, at the seeding level, at the growth level, at the maturity level, water requirements differ. So, and the last but not the least is reuse. Is a farmer is to enhance crop production. That's the focus of the farmer production. And level, can you hear me, please?
Your network is breaking, but I don't know if it's at my hand also. So, but your network is breaking. Hello, AY, are you there?
Am I audible?
We are losing you. Hello?
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me, please?
Oh, the neighbor is fainting.
Hello, allow me.
You are the one that can't hear us.
Allow me.
Ayo, we can hear you.
Allow me.
You are the one that can't hear us.
Allow me. Okay, so I was saying the other time that the farmer perspective now is to go about practicing all of these things together and get an enhanced crop production, which will still be the same as the global benefit. When farmers engages in all of these 5 highlighted ways of reducing the impact of agriculture on biodiversity, what happened is that there will be a global benefit. The biodiversity component of the world will be at advantage. It will not be at disadvantage, it will be at advantage. Okay, so the summary of what we have just discussed is that agriculture has a positive or negative influence on biodiversity, and its importance on biodiversity is determined by several factors. It's just like the farm practice, the agricultural practices we have just discussed. We also noted that biodiversity provides a very wide range of services to farmers, both directly and indirectly. These services make possible enormous
Hello, AY. Sorry, I paused. At the farmer level, we know that sometimes it's difficult to have all this in place, but as much as possible, we need to reduce the losses and then increase practices that will help us to mitigate biodiversity losses. And then we need to also limit practices that can change the natural balance and control in our respective ecosystem. So at the farmer level, what are the solutions for reducing the impact of agriculture on biodiversity? We have IPM, that is integrated pest management. As a farmer, we just don't need to do we just don't need to attack the pests. We need to study first what kind of pests, when do they normally visit, what part of the crop do they eat. So all this information is good, and it's also good that as farmers, as managers in any horticultural farm, that we document our findings so that when this pests occur again in another plant, we try to look at the solutions that we have given before, and then we quickly be able to use them, especially when it has to do with same vegetative parts that they are consuming. Then also, we look at the planting of leguminous crops. Very important. We see a lot of people, they leave their field bed, especially during the dry season. No, we need to plant cover crops. We have a lot of different cover crops doing different things. We have some that even they treat nematode. So all these are things that we need to incorporate into our production system. In fact, even when we just plow and we're waiting for the seedlings to, fully be ready in, let's say, 1 month, we can still plant cover crop there. And that 1 month, the cover crops is actually fixing nitrogen for us. Then shallow tilling. This is very, very, very important. Many times we disturb the soil when we till the soil. The level at which our disc is supposed to go is supposed to be very shallow, not more than 2 centimeter. That's how it should be, a surface tilling. In fact, technology is going, or innovation is going in such a way that we can do without tilling. If you do a lot of cover crops, we can actually do without tilling, because the cover crops can actually, their roots are able to penetrate into the soil, and they're able to turn and aerate the soil as much as we want. Then enhanced crop production. All this enhanced crop production, integrated water management. What time do we need to water? Many people I see, they water early in the morning in the open fields. There's going to be evaporation from the soil. So we need to know when to water, what type of irrigation system is best used for the crop that we are planting. All these are things that as a farmer, as an agricultural farm, we must put in place. Then reforestation, we must plant trees. We must plant the trees that we are cutting. And then we can plant economical trees so that we can get money from the tree. Like we plant cashew, you can sell the cashew nuts, but the cashew tree is there for a longer time. Are you there, please? Ayo. Ayo, are you with us? Okay, when you're there, just let me know so that you can continue. Thank you. Can you hear me, please? Hello? Matthew and Mamo, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. It's good to check once in a while because of the way the network is. Thank you. So at the global level, what are the solutions? The same impact is the same solution are what we need to give. And this will create global benefit. When we give this solution at the farmer level, it will create a global benefit for all of us. See the COP26 event that's just concluded. See how the leaders had to negotiate with everybody how we can reduce the impact of this climate change, what we can do. See how they had to lobby for days and to be able to bring everybody on board so that we all be able to channel the right course. And we can see that from all the discussion, biodiversity plays a key role in ensuring or mitigating climate change. So if all farmers practice this, then at the global level, we are all going to gain a lot of biodiversity influence. Ayo, you can continue.
All right, thank you very much. Allow me. So just as we've spoken, that when you go into the practices we have just mentioned, you are going to have a global benefit. And I was trying to tell us the summary of sequence 1 that we just discussed. And we are the third one, which is that when agricultural practices are intensified, there will be increases in the size of the field, reduction in rotation, greater use of fertilizer and pesticides. That will be reduction, so to say, in use of fertilizer and pesticides. Then the last one is reducing the impact on the biodiversity is firstly a matter of preserving natural habitats without intervention. So we move to biodiversity at farm level. The next slide, please. So what do we mean by biodiversity at the farm level? The number one objective we are going to consider is know the domesticated and wild biodiversity. I think last week, allow me, was discussing what domesticated and biodiversity is all about. And we are going to know why we access, we are going to know why we access biodiversity at the farm level. So just like as it has been discussed, that domesticated biodiversity is simply the use to, it's also used to express global decline in diversity of cultivated and raised species in recent years. If you want to, let me bring it closer to us. We used to know that there are some animals that are found in the wild, but we bring them closer to us by domesticating them. That is what we mean by biodiversity at a domesticated level. Also crops. We have some crops that are found in the wild, but we bring their seed, we bring their seedling, and we cultivated them around us. So we are just trying to domesticate those crops, and that is simply what we refer to as domesticated biodiversity. So we say that domesticated biodiversity includes the collection and the richness of species.
Hello, AY. Hello. 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 Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Okay, participant, please, at any point in time that we lose higher, just signify to me so that I can pick up, because the network also at my hand might not be that strong at that point. Just someone should just let me know immediately so that we can continue. So Ayo, you can continue.
All right, thank you very much. So with my sincere apologies, we were discussing what domesticated biodiversity includes, and we said it includes collection and richness of species and subspecies, races, varieties domesticated by women, human, and subjected to artificial selection. It's exactly what I've just explained. Once you are able to harvest all of these things from the wild and you put them around you where you can see them, make use of them at any point in time without going to the wild to get them harvested again, you have already done a domesticated biodiversity. And to the wild biodiversity, you can change to this, move to the slide, please. To the wild biodiversity now. We said wild biodiversity exists spontaneously. It's often not directly managed by the humans, but is greatly influenced by human activities. How do women? In the wild there, we have animals. In the wild there, you have trees. In the wild there, you have many species that are there, but since we don't have access to them, we don't even make use of them. In fact, we don't even know that some of them even exist. What do we do to them? Sometimes by the virtue of setting the field on fire, we destroy them. Sometimes by the virtue of cultivating the wild, because as farm is getting expansion, we are getting our farming activities expanded because we want an enhanced production. We want the sumptuous yield. We increase our farm sizes, so we destroy the wild biodiversity. We also stated that wild biodiversity can be exceptional or ordinary. It is exceptional when it is made up of living organisms and habitats which are rare or at risk of disappearing. just like I've explained. Some of in the wild, we don't even know the species that are existing there. There are some species that human beings have not discovered, but they are there, they are existing. So they are there making the environment to be habitable. They are there making the environment to be okay, to be naturally the natural endowment, that the way creation is, they are maintaining it. We stated that biodiversity play many roles in maintaining the balance. Why biodiversity play many roles in maintaining the balance of ecosystem, such as oxygen production, carbon sequestration, temperature regulation. These are the things that wild biodiversity does. So, and I was about to ask a question that we should name examples of domesticated biodiversity, but we switch over because we do not have time. So the reason for assessing biodiversity on the farm, can you move to the next slide, please? The reason for assessing biodiversity at farm level, what are the reasons? Why do we want to assess biodiversity at the farm level? Let me start from regulatory aspects. If we do not have access biodiversity at the farm level, we will not put into check what we are doing. Take, for instance, where charcoal is made. I believe we are all familiar with charcoal. Charcoal is a source of energy. It's a common source of energy in black wood. It is used as a replacement of for fuel that is used for cooking. So charcoal production is majorly from wood. And if we keep cutting the wood in the forest to make charcoal, then how many wood are we going to find there? It means that production of oxygen, regulation of temperature will be virtually decreased. And that is why some regulations are put in place that when you cut a tree, plant a tree. Can you see me, please?
Hello.
Yes, please.
I've been seeing.
It's allow me there, please.
Yes,
Allow
I'm
me.
there. Yes,
Okay.
I'm there.
Am I audible, please?
Huh? What did you say?
Am I audible, please?
Yes, please, you are.
Yeah, Ibrahim sent a message that he can't see the screen. Is the screen there?
Yes, please, those online, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So the screen is.
All right.
Allow me.
Hello.
I am saying we are seeing your screen, but it's solutions for reducing impact of agriculture and biodiversity.
That's what you're seeing.
Arrow is referring to.
Okay, let me stop sharing and share again. Can we share? Can we see my screen now?
Yes, we can see.
So are you seeing reasons for assessing of biodiversity on a farm?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Ayo, you can.
All right, it's good to know you are following. Okay, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me, please? Please. All right. So we were discussing the reason for. Please, you can move back. You can back it. All right, good. We were discussing the reason for assessing biodiversity on the farm, and I was saying that for regulatory aspect of it, there is need to assess biodiversity. There is reason we need to assess biodiversity. And I was making an example of making a charcoal from wood, And I said charcoal is a source of energy in the black world. They use it as a replacement for fuel gas because it is affordable compared to where gas is used, where kerosene, as the case may be, are used as a source of energy. Now, what I'm saying is that if we keep cutting trees because we want to make energy, want to make charcoal from it, before you know it, all the trees in the wild will have been cut off, and you will have used them for production of charcoal where we consume energy. And that is why a kind of regulation have been put in place that when you cut a tree, plant 3. Yes, because afforestation is a means of protecting biodiversity. So I will move to the image of the producer marketing asset. Now, I will still see the charcoal production company as an example. That is not the only example. There are other examples. But let me just cite that one because that one is closer to the black world. The production of charcoal as it is quite enormous. But there is one thing that is peculiar there, and that is the production of CO, carbon monoxide. This carbon monoxide is poisonous to health, and you cannot avoid it in production process of charcoal. So if a company continues to produce such, that company continues to pollute the environment, and the company continues to make biodiversity to be at the losing end. And of course, the image of that company will be tarred. The image of that company will not be reputable. And if there is any benefit companies are enjoying, such company will not participate because of the image, because that company is in the production of charcoal and contaminating, polluting the air. I will move to requirements of the agri-food sector. When we talk about agri-food sector, we are talking about production of foods, but the production of that food in a way has impact on biodiversity. In a way, it's having impact on biodiversity. Let's cite an instance. In a farm wherein fertilizer are used to grow crops, a crop that's supposed to be matured in 3 months, because of fertilizer, it gets big, so to say, semi-matured in 2 months, particularly vegetables. Such produce will not be good. It will be poisonous for consumption. Let me start an example for vegetable. Vegetable that fertilizer is used to grow. By the time you are cooking such vegetable, it becomes dark. If you are observing it very well. But an organically produced vegetable, when you cook it, it doesn't go from green to black. No, it will not. It will just remain. If it is green, it will remain green. If it is red, it will remain red. But if it is fertilized, it will become dark because of the content. So the last but not the least is for agronomic functioning of biodiversity. That is what we've been explaining. We want the environment to be to connect very well. When a company is producing and they are biodiversity smart, the person consuming consuming their produce, they are also healthy enough to. They are healthy. They have the healthy status. They are not affecting themselves in any negative way. And as such, if you pop money into such thing, it will grow. Unlike when the government will raise funds to end cancer, they will raise funds to end some diseases that we orchestrated by ourselves because we are not biodiversity smart. So those are the reasons why we access biodiversity at farm level. Over to the next slide, please. So we have the summaries, and the summary of what I've been talking about is what we have just. We have the diversity of species, and we talk about the wild biodiversity, which the human being does not have a control over, so to say. except you want to damage it. And we have the domesticated biodiversity, taking species of plants and animals and domesticating them. So to the next slide, please. We'll go to sequence 3, which is where we are going to end today's training. And sequence 3 says that the extent and precision level of the assessment. The extent and precision level of the assessment. And what readily comes to mind is that to what end, to what extent can I measure biodiversity? When I'm trying to assess biodiversity on my farm, to what extent can I measure it? And how accurate am I when I'm trying to measure it? Just try to picture your farm and picture yourself going into the farm and looking at, am I really biodiversity smart? Am I contributing to global benefits, or I'm contributing to global deficit? And those are the things as learned farmers need to be looking at anytime we are into production of our crops, be it animal or crops. So to the next slide. And we noted that at the end of this particular module that we're talking about, we should all know biodiversity at the spatial level, biodiversity at the spatial scale. And what will come to your mind is that what is spatial scale? So we should also know biodiversity at the temporal scale. So the question is that what is spatial scale biodiversity? What is temporal scale biodiversity? So I've noted some key points here. Most of the tools developed for assessing biodiversity on farm are focused on wild biodiversity. Most of the tools, and the reason is that you will not do cultivation inside the room. You always get a piece of land, and preferably a land that has not been cultivated before, if we are lucky. And many times we are not lucky because fields, farm are becoming expanded and is becoming subjected to reuse. But if you are lucky, you keep moving to the wild to cultivate. But this aspect, we deal with it. And we noted that biodiversity assessment is limited to certain organisms selected based on their importance and relative ease of assessment. And I will take us back to what we learned last week when we are looking at earthworm. There are some places on the farm where you will find earthworm, and there are some places you will not find earthworm. And you begin to ask why. It's simple. The earthworm will be there if that place is habitable for it. It will not be there if that place is not convenient. Just like human being, you stay where you are comfortable. And once you are not comfortable, you move away from that place. The same thing is applicable to animals. The same thing is applicable to plants. There are some plants that naturally grow during rainy season. In fact, when you see some plants, you will know that rainy season is around. Such plants, we have Titonia diversifolia. You will know that it's a sign that rainy season is knocking at the door. So when you are doing your assessment, you base your assessment on those plants that you know that they are there, not the plants you cannot see, because you cannot take record of all the species of plants, all the species of animals. You cannot take record of them on your farm. They are too numerous. But you look at the ones that you can identify. Okay, this one grows here, this one grows here, this one grows here, and that is the way you measure it. Because when the season changes, you might not find them there. So that is why we said that biodiversity assessment is limited to certain organisms, selected based on their importance and relative ease of assessment. Then we proceeded by saying that agricultural practices should be examined closely enough to assess their impact on wild and domesticated biodiversity. You should be careful to observe those things that we are talking about, be it animals, be it plants, to know the impact they have on their on the farm that you are planting. Take for instance, I mentioned Tithonia diversifolia. Tithonia diversifolia is rich in phosphorus, and as we as biopesticide producers, we normally use that plant to produce phosphorus. And what happens is that plant will only grow where there is phosphorus deficient. It will not go where there is surplus phosphorus. But a land that is deficient of phosphorus, that plant will grow there. We have several of these plants that I will give us room to mention, that when you see them, you know that this land is fertile. When you see them, you know that this land is not fertile. If this one is growing here, this one is not fertile. So to the next slide, please. Now, we are moving to spatial scale. At spatial scale, we have just two components, and that is the air and the soil. For whatever activities you are carrying out on your farm, there are two things you are imparting, because those two things have in them what make biodiversity what it is, and that is the air component and the soil component. If you are into the use of if you are into mechanized farming, you know that when you are burning your diesel, you are producing carbon monoxide. You are polluting the atmosphere on the farm, thereby making some species of so to say, like bees now, to desert that place. And you will observe carefully that where you are doing mechanized farming, pollination will not be rampant there. It will not be rampant because that atmosphere has been contaminated. And the organism responsible for pollination, the organism responsible for aeration of the soil, they will leave that place because the place is not convenient for them to stay. And of course, the soil, the impact that we have been talking about, the agricultural practices that we have been talking about over time, the impact, we will feel it inside the soil. And we mentioned that there are individual cultivated plants, there are cultivated lands, there are semi-natural and natural ecosystem, and we have outside areas surrounding the farm. Of course, you understand that there are areas around our farm that we don't normally plant. There is no way you will use your land for cultivation. You will still leave some boundaries where you will not plant at all. So those are the places we consider when we are into spatial scale assessment of biodiversity. We look at the individual cultivated plants. What are you planting? If you are a maize farmer, we'll check it. And we look at the cultivated land itself, the land that you are cultivating, what is it made up of? You look at that too. You look at the semi-natural ecosystem, and you look at the natural ecosystem, and you look at the surroundings of the farm. So, I don't know if you can see the picture. Please move to the next slide. If you can see the picture very well, this is what a spatial scale biodiversity should look like. If you look at it, it's starting with the natural environment where we see trees, forest. Then it moves to cultivated field where you have maize, maybe tomato. And if you are lucky, where you are planting, you have rivers, maybe down the stream or upstream. You have river around it. Then it moves to semi-natural, cultivated area. Probably you are the one that planted those trees. You are the one that just put them there. It moves like that. So your farm should be like this. And when your farm is like this, of course, the assessment of biodiversity at spatial scale will be easy. So if your farm is not like this, your farm is just cultivation, cultivated, everything is just want to maximize the land, you will not be able to measure biodiversity at spatial scale. To the next slide. So we are talking about temporal scale now.
Temporal scale is very easy. I've mentioned it earlier on that when you are embarking on temporal scale biodiversity assessment, it has a lot to crops, to animals that come up seasonally. I mentioned Tithonia diversifolia. You will not see it when it is during the dry season. You only see it during the rainy season. You can measure temporal scale like that on the organisms or the plant species that are seasonal. So on your plant, on your farmland now, you will notice some plants that grow there during the rainy season. You will notice some that grow there during the dry season. And that is the way it is. So to the next one. Now, the peculiarity of that is that you must know their lifespan. How long do they spend? I'm talking about the life cycle of those species. Like Tithonia diversifolia I make mention of. In 4 to 5 months, it's over. That species of plant just spend just 5 months, and it fruits, and that's all. So you must note all of those things before you can embark on temporal scale biodiversity assessment. To the next one, please. So I have put together what you will see in spatial scale assessment. You will see that there is a circle that is interlinked. Cultivated areas to natural areas, they are linked together. Then there is natural areas to unexploited areas. They are interlinked with each other. And all of these components will make up spatial scale. To the next slide, please. The summary now. Summary of what we've been talking about is that agroecological production system improve domestic biodiversity by promoting the association of livestock and plant production. Proposing spatial and temporal crop management techniques and giving space to local species and heritage species. What we are saying in essence is that when we judiciously embark on what we have discussed, starting from our agricultural practices to measurement of biodiversity on our farm, you will have promoted domestic biodiversity. If you carefully observe them, I showed us in the spatial assessment how your farm should look like. From the natural environment where you have the thick forest, you clear the land, you do your cultivation, and if you are lucky enough, you have river, maybe downstream or upstream, then you continue like that to a semi-natural environment. You are the one that cultivated the trees by yourself. And like that. If your farm is designed that way, you are biodiversity smart. And that is what we want to be looking at in the next couple of years. And once you embark on this, I can tell you that you are contributing to the global benefits of biodiversity, which we all will benefit from. To the next slide, please. So to the next slide, we have a small like a group thing. We should be grouped into 1 or 2 groups, and you will have to mention 3 components of air compartments, 3 components of soil compartment. We can just jot it down and let me see the response coming in on our WhatsApp. Just put in your response. This question I've asked is in the module that we showed us. If you have gone to your Scrum, if you have gone to the tiles on e-learning platform, you will see the Scrum there. And inside the Scrum, you will see the components of air compartment, you will see the components of soil compartments. We will appreciate if you can just go through it and just supply us the responses on the WhatsApp, and we'll be happy to receive it. And on Thursday, we'll be going to sequence 4, which is indicator. So I would like to stop on this note, and allow me we wrap up. I want us to finish at the dot of 9:30. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much. Over to you, allow me.
Thank you, Ayo. And welcome everybody. I want to thank everybody that came on board today and try to tell us that please finish exactly at few minutes before starting, then it's become difficult to finish on the exact time. And then we might be cheating those who come early. So please, let's come early. I want to also encourage us about the work assignments that we need to do. I realize that some people have not even gone to the e-learning page. They've not logged on to their e-learning page. Please, if you're having any challenge, can we all see my screen?
Yes, please.
This is the e-learning page that we must all see when we log on. If you have any challenge, please let us know. Right now, we are already in week 2. When you get to the e-learning page, after you are signing your information, this is week 1, this is week 2. By now, we should all have finished our assignments on week 1. If we click on week 1, there are 4 major things we need to do. Sorry, it's asking me to sign in again. So that's one thing about the page. If you open it and you leave it for a while, it's going to log you out. Then you have to log in again. This is week 1 that I am showing us. This is the Scrum that we talk about. This is where the material for studying is. This is a PowerPoint that we used last week. This is very important, the mini quiz. You have to do the mini quiz. Then we download this assignment, do it, save it, and then put it on the page back. Then also test your knowledge on introduction. You have to do your test. It's a very simple test. It's just 10 questions. Please let us finish week 1 because now we are already in week 2. This is week 2 that we have started. Before Thursday, we are supposed to have gone through the Scrum. The PowerPoint presentation is here. And by the end of Thursday, we should do the mini quiz. And also, we should, on Thursday, Ayo will explain to us our assignments. We have 2 this week. And these assignments are what we have to do on the field. They are not assignments that you can go to Google and download anything. No. To take the information, look at what is happening at your field, and then put it back. The same thing for week 1 also. Then you also do your test by Sunday. So please, we normally send reports to CP every Friday. In fact, last week I had to delay it because a lot of people have not finished their work, and it's also affecting our home timelines. So please, I will encourage us. I know we are very busy, but like we said at the beginning of the training, that you just need to devote 3 hours, 6 hours per week. All you need is 6 hours per week for your self-learning pace. So if you pick 1 hour every day, you're going to finish everything that you need to do. So please, I'm encouraging us, as many that I have not gone on to the e-learning page, that have not signed on. When you come to the e-learning page, you saw how it locked me out. You put in your password if you already have a password. If you do not have a password, I want to go back to the e-learning page so that we all see. So if you have not created your information on LHCP page, you have to create new account. And once you click on create new account, it will bring out all this information and then you can fill them. But if you have an account with CP before, put in your email address and your password. If you have forgotten your password, click on forgotten your password and it will help you to generate a new password. And when you log in, you can change the password. Please, any question so that we can know if there are challenges and we can tackle them here. Any challenges, please?
Maybe you should be asking the participant one after the other.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Herbert, I know you have logged in. So any challenge in week one?
I'm here.
Any challenge in
Not at all.
okay, so I know you are very busy. I know. But please, as much as we have signed into this course, our CP is expecting that we also do the necessary assignments and tests that we're supposed to do. So please, let's ensure that we finish week one today. David has finished week one. Ibrahim, you said you are on transit. Please, and you can't speak where you are. Please, I will encourage you to please finish. Even as you're on transit, you can sit and just finish all that you need to do on the e-learning page. Mamo, if there are also any other thing that you need to finish, please, I encourage that you please finish them today. Okay, you want to say something? Do you have any challenge?
Well, no, I was able to log on early this morning.
Okay.
And from there, we'll have progress.
Okay. Thank you so much for letting us. Matthew, thank you. I saw your assignment and by now you should have response to your assignments also. So please, let's be encouraged. It's just 4 weeks. Before we know it, we are at week 4. And because the last day is the day that we need to also take our certificate. So if we pile up all the things that we need to do till the last week, then we'll, at the 4th week, we'll have a lot of work to do and we might not be able to finish. So like I said, if you dedicate 1 hour every day, by Sunday of every week, you'll have finished every assignment, every test, every quiz, read the material, listen to the recordings over again. And if you have any question, please do not hesitate to write those questions on the group chat. And if you feel more comfortable sending the questions to any one of us, please feel free to send any of the question to any one of us, and then we will answer those questions accordingly. If at any point in time there's a topic you also want us to dwell more on or to speak more, please feel free to say it, to write to us, and then we will create time in the 1.5 hours that we have, or if you want a personal communication, we will do that. So please feel free to communicate with us. Feel free to interact with us. We don't want it to be, excuse me, teacher-student affair. We want it to be colleagues. We are colleagues. We are both farmers. I'm a farmer too. Ayo is a farmer, and then we are trainers. And I know all of us are trainers also at our respective establishment. So over to you, Ayo, for any other communication.
All right, thank you. Allow me just a quick one, and is that I want us to follow carefully because the essence of this training is for us to go and transfer the knowledge to our colleagues and implement it on our farm. So it's not just for the training sake. And I also want to encourage us that the assignments are not difficult. They are not to examine and score people and score us, maybe you fail or you pass. No. So it's not like that. What we just want to ensure is that you are following. All right, thank you very much. Over to you, allow me.
Thank you, Ayo. So on this note, we like to end today, and then we expect at 7 on the dot Ghana time, and at the respective time zone that we belong to, we'll come on Thursday, and then we'll able to finish on time. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much, everyone, and see you again on Thursday. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you then.
Thank you. Bye.